Welcome to Circle 10 News, where geopolitics and economics are not just headlines. Treaty are the forces shaping your money, your security, and your future. Tonight, we connect the dots between war rooms, markets, and everyday life. From power struggles in capitals to price shocks at the pump, we show you how global decisions hit your wallet and your world. Clear stories, hard numbers, no spin, so you see the whole circle, not just the breaking news. This is Circle 10 News, Geopolitics and Economics. Stay with us. The next few minutes may change how you see the world.
Good evening. I'm Walter Rother, and this is your monthly Geopolitics Update. This June, the center of gravity in world affairs has been the war centered on Iran and the scramble to contain it. Earlier this month, negotiators from the United States and Iran met for direct talks in Switzerland, trying to turn a fragile battlefield pause into something more durable. Those meetings in Geneva and Zurich focused on one core question. Can both sides accept limits on Iran's nuclear and missile programs in exchange for sanctions relief and safer shipping lanes? All of this takes place against the backdrop of a war that formally began on February 28, when U.S. and Israeli forces launched large-scale strikes across Iran under the operation known as Epic Fury. In the weeks that followed, Iranian missiles and drones hit U.S. bases, Israeli cities, and energy infrastructure across the region, while allied militias in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen stepped up their own attacks. June's talks in Switzerland are the first serious attempt to put a political frame around that escalation. Energy and economics are at the heart of these discussions. With routes near the Strait of Hormuz repeatedly threatened since late winter, global oil markets have been on edge. Earlier in June, negotiators floated a draft roadmap that would commit Iran to allowing monitored oil exports and tanker traffic in exchange for phased sanction waivers. The outcome will help decide not only Middle Eastern security, but also inflation and energy prices worldwide. Beyond the Middle East, politics and key allies have added uncertainty. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced his resignation under growing pressure from within his Labour Party, triggering a leadership contest just as Europe continues to wrestle with war in Ukraine, migration, and sluggish growth. In Ukraine, June brought continued cross-eyed border strikes and drone attacks, including hits near St. Petersburg in Russia, a reminder that conflict there remains active even as attention shifts to Iran. Latin America also had a consequential moment. Congress chose a new president, a far-right lawyer, political network, signaling a tougher line on crime and migration on trade and regional security. Back in the United States, geopolitics and domestic politics are tightly linked. President Trump spent part of this month in Pennsylvania and other Rust Belt states, arguing that a hard stance on Iran, new tariffs, and pressure on trading partners are needed to protect American jobs. In Congress, lawmakers debated resolutions to narrow the president's war-making authority and to set conditions for any longer-term presence in the Middle East, reflecting deeper divisions over how much risk the U.S. should accept in confronting rivals. There's also a quieter trend, the rise of artificial intelligence as a geopolitical tool. Governments and major tech firms acknowledge that AI-generated images and videos are already shaping narratives around the Iran war and elections, forcing diplomats to talk not just about missiles and tanks, but also deepfakes and information integrity. Taken together, June shows three things. The Iran war remains the biggest flashpoint. Leadership changes in places like the UK and Colombia can quickly reshape the diplomatic chessboard. And foreign policy now runs straight through energy prices, elections, and the media we consume every day. My job is to help you connect those dots month by month. I'm Walter Rother. Stay with us.
Good evening. I'm Stan Fairfax, and this is your monthly markets and money update. June has been a month of financial whiplash. On one side, the U.S. economy and consumer look surprisingly resilient. On the other, Wall Street has been shaken by a sharp sell-off in big technology and artificial intelligence stocks as investors start to question whether the AI boom has run too far, too fast. Let's start with the big macro number. U.S. inflation is running at about 4.2% year-over-year through May, up from 3.8% in April and the highest since the spring of 2023. That's well above the Federal Reserve's 2% goal, and it's one reason the Fed, and its June 17th meeting, kept its key interest rate in the 3.5 to 3.75% range and dialed back talk of near-term cuts. In short, they're signaling higher for longer and even leaving the door open to another hike if price pressures stay elevated. Markets took in the high in mid-June. Treasury yields nudged higher, and attention shifted back to how expensive money still is. Beginning around June 9th and intensifying on June 22nd and 23rd, the Nasdaq and S&P 500 were dragged down by a deep sell-off in chipmakers and AI megacaps. Names like NVIDIA, Alphabet, Micron, Intel, and AMD saw multi-item day drops of 5 to 13%, erasing weeks of gains and knocking indexes back to levels last seen in early May. The issue isn't just price fatigue, it's spending. Major cloud and AI firms have poured hundreds of billions of dollars into data centers and chips. Alphabet's free cash flow fell sharply as its bills came due, and Micron stock, which had tripled this year, dropped more than 13% ahead of its late-in-June earnings. Investors are asking a simple question. Will these companies generate revenue and profit fast enough to justify that level of investment? Or is this, at least for now, one big bubble? The ripple effects have gone global. South Korea's semiconductor index fell by double digits, and tech and heavy markets in Asia followed the U.S. lower. AMD's at home, the Nasdaq saw single-day declines above 2% on June 23rd, while the S&P 500 and Dow posted smaller but still notable losses. At the same time, the Russell 2000, a small-cap index less dominated by megatech, hit 3,000 for the first time earlier in the month, underscoring a growing split between the AI darlings and the rest of the market. Meanwhile, everyday consumers are quietly adjusting. June survey data show Americans still planning to spend, but shifting toward more practical, value-oriented choices as food, energy, and housing costs remain high. Think fewer impulse buys and more hunting for deals, even as headline job numbers stay reasonably solid. It's a picture of an economy that's holding up but feeling increasingly squeezed. So what does this month's financial story mean for you? First, it reinforces that we're in a world where inflation is sticky and interest rates aren't racing back to zero. That makes debt more expensive to carry and cash a bit more attractive, especially in short-term vehicles that finally pay real yields. Second, it's a reminder that concentrating too heavily in a handful of AI or tech names can make your portfolio ride the same roller coaster we saw in late June. Diversification ALI across sectors, sizes, and geographies matters more when one theme dominates headlines. Third, it signals a new phase in the AI story. The first act was hype. This next act is about proving the business case. Companies that show clear paths to profitability may recover, while those that don't could stay under pressure. Taken together, June has reminded us that the economy and the market are not the same thing. The U.S. consumer is still standing, but Wall Street's love affair with AI is being tested by high rates, high spending, and high expectations. It's all at once. I'm Stan Fairfax, and that's your monthly Markets in Money update. Stay with us.
In late June, the fragile ceasefire in the Strait of Hormuz came under severe strain when the Singapore-flagged cargo ship MV Everlovely was struck while exiting the strait near the Omani coast. UK Maritime Trade Operations reported the vessel had been hit on its starboard side by an unknown projectile, damaging the bridge but causing no casualties and no pollution. U.S. officials later said they believe Iran's Revolutionary Guard used a one-way attack drone, only hours after Tehran warned ships against using routes it hadn't approved, making this the first major test of the new U.S.-Iran agreement to halt hostilities and reopen Hormuz. The UN's International Maritime Organization responded by pausing its evacuation program for stranded ships, saying it needed to verify that safety guarantees in the strait still applied. On June 26, U.S. Central Command hit back with airstrikes on Iranian missile and drone storage sites and coastal radar facilities along the strait and on Keshim Island, describing the operation as a strong but measured response, not a return to full-scale war. Tehran condemned the strikes as a breach of the ceasefire and the June 17 memorandum, and by June 27 the IRGC claimed it had hit U.S.-linked sites in the Gulf in retaliation, warning it could reconsider its commitments if U.S. attacks continue. Around the same time, UK monitors reported another tanker in the strait was struck by an unidentified projectile, again damaging the bridge but sparing the crew and the environment, reinforcing that Hormuz remains highly unstable and commercial ships are still caught in a dangerous tit-for-tat between Washington and Tehran.
Thanks for watching Circle 10 News, where geopolitics and economics come together to show you the story behind the headlines. Tonight, we have tracked the money flows, the power plays, and the quiet shifts that will shape the weeks ahead. Remember, every conflict, every policy, every market move eventually lands in your neighborhood. If you found this helpful, stay in our circle. Join us next time as we connect new dots between global decisions and everyday life. This has been Circle 10 News, Geopolitics and Economics. Stay curious, stay informed, and we will see you in the next broadcast.